Shalom and welcome. Welcome to the White Rose Family Channel. If you're tuning in for the first time, my name is Symmanayah. And these are the words I'm compelled to present before an awakening, set-apart nation, to those drawn by the Almighty Father Yahuah to Yahusha Mashyach. His word that came before us, His word that was manifest, sacrificed, resurrected, in the name that the Spirit of Yahuah have set. In Yahusha's name, I come to you. As it relates to John 14:26, many people fail to realize that the word of Yahuah is represented by the name Yahusha. The Spirit of Yahuah is represented by the name Yahusha. In that, as He communicates with us, we are to acknowledge the Spirit of Yahusha. That's acknowledging Yahuah speaking to us, through us, one towards another, and making His word, the scriptures, alive. This is the 16th segment to building unity, but it is the third sequence to body parts. Yashar'al, before I get into this, I want to say this. The views expressed do not necessarily reflect the views of the owners, management, shareholders, and or sponsors of this media platform in which you are listening to. With that said, let me recap a couple of things. In part one, I wanted to identify the importance of us recognizing every member that is part of the set-apart family of Yashar'al, the set-apart family. See, not all Yashar'al is of Yashar'al as it is written. In other words, not everyone is drawn of the Father. Not everyone is doing the will of the Father or pursuing His will. So Yashar'al, is important to know that. I also want to bring your attention that these messages are critical for our last days, our final days. Some will be gathered and some will not. There's a false sense of security thinking that every Hebrew Israelite will be gathered from the four corners of the earth before the physical return of Yahusha. I had someone said in a comment that I was setting a date for this final Exodus, thinking that I was talking about Yahusha's return. And I said, before the physical return, it is my position that there will be a final exodus. There will be mass numbers gathered from the four corners of the earth before the physical return. Make sure we listen carefully, my brothers and sisters, when listening to anyone's message. Anything an individual is saying, make sure we're listening attentively, prayerfully, so that we may understand. In the first body parts, I wanted to bring to attention the importance from the very least to the greatest, that all must be recognized and all have a part in making the body of Yashar'al whole. In the second segment of body parts, I bring to attention the need to vet, to discern, to study, and recognize the functions of the various body parts. I speak, O Yashar'al, as the scriptures sometimes use body symbolically for the spiritual set-apart nation of Yashar'al. Now I want to bring your attention, my brothers and sisters, that we must begin to ask ourselves what's inside, spiritually and physically. What are we taking in to strengthen the body part that's in the mirror, the body parts that are before us? What are we taking in? What are we eating? What are we drinking? Let me continue in this third segment of body parts, for I believe it is important for this final Exodus, my brothers and sisters. The need to discern and remember who and what keeps us going. Come with me, O Yashar'al, to 1 Corinthians chapter 11, verse 23 through 34. 1 Corinthians. It says, "For I received from the Master that which I also delivered to you, that the Master Yahusha, in the night in which he was delivered up, took bread, and having given thanks, he broke it and said, 'Take, eat, this is my body, which is broken for you. Do this in remembrance of me. In that same way, he also the cup after supper, saying, this cup is the renewed covenant in my blood. As often as you drink, do this in remembrance of me. Many people know this to be the Last Supper, as some will say. I will say this, my brothers and sisters. I believe it is something that Yahuah wants us to remember, that whenever we eat bread, sit down and just take a moment and eat bread, unleavened bread, think about what he did for us and what he's doing for us. Think about him and think about how he paid the price for us. And when it says the cup, and some will say wine or juice, I'm not here to argue or debate, but I believe he wants us to think of the power of the anointing blood that he shed for us, that brings us into fellowship with him, with the Almighty Father, with the Almighty Yahuah. It is through Yahusha that we are restored into fellowship. Let me continue with the 26th verse to the 34th, chapter 11 of 1 Corinthians still. For as often as you eat this bread and drink this cup, you proclaim the death of the Master until he comes. So that whoever should eat this bread or drink of this cup of the Master unworthily shall be guilty of the body and blood of the Master. But let a man examine himself, so let him eat of that bread and drink of that cup. For the one who is eating and drinking unworthily eats and drinks judgment to himself, not discerning the body of the Master. You see, so many people don't want to give thought to the realities that the body of Yahuah came to us. His word came to us in the name of Yahusha. We must continuously examine ourselves. We must continuously recognize that it is through Yahusha we find life and life everlasting. It says, because of this, many are weak and sick among you, and many sleep. See, there are those who don't want to examine themselves, those who don't want to recognize the birth, the sacrifice, the resurrection, the living spirit of Yahusha. Many are weak and indeed do get sick, and many sleep. This is talking about physical death. For if we were to examine ourselves, we would not be judged. And when it say examine ourselves, that's prayerfully and allowing the Spirit of Yahuah to convict us, to discipline us, to refine us. It says, but when we are judged, we are disciplined by the Master, that we should not be condemned with the world. So then, my brothers, when you come together to eat, wait for one another. And if anyone is hungry, let him eat at home, lest you come together for judgment. And the rest I shall set in order when I come. Here we see Shalum talking about a time or times in which we should do things in remembrance of Yahuah. Breaking unleavened bread, drinking the wine. Some just disregard this altogether, not fully understanding and discerning why we are to remember, keep top of mind the presence of Yahusha working within us, one towards another. We must know, O Yashar'al, the things we take in, the things we eat, the things we drink, the exercise to remember Yahusha. It builds us up. Building up requires ongoing intake of food, both spiritual and physical. It's an everyday, ongoing process. And we must learn how to begin to discern what we're listening to, who we're listening to, what we're taking in, practically and spiritually. I want to share the following passages, O Yashar'al. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 16 through 19. 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, 16 through 19 says, rejoice always, pray without ceasing, And many people don't realize that pray means communicate without ceasing, speaking and oftentimes listening, discerning what the voice of the Spirit of Yahusha has to say to us. Whether he come to us directly in spirit or through us one towards another, or as he make the scriptures alive before us. It say, in all circumstances give thanks, for this is the desire of the Almighty One and Messiah Yahusha for you. Do not quench the Spirit. My brothers and sisters, many quench the Spirit as the Spirit of Yahusha works in us directly and through others. There are many who will falsely bear witness to the obedient of Yahuah, doing things to shut people down that are being obedient. That's quenching the Spirit. People don't know that. Anything that you do to repel, reject, or ignore what the Spirit is saying is quenching the Spirit. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, in these end times, it is mindful that we wake up each day as we move throughout the day, that we be prayerful, sensitive to what the voice of the Spirit of Yahushua is saying to us. Ephesians 5:18-21. Come with me. And I've mentioned this one often. Though it's talking about literal marriage, it also speaks of spiritual marriage. It says, do not be drunk with wine, in which is loose behavior, but be filled with the Spirit. Being filled means walking in obedience, my brothers and sisters. The Spirit doesn't just jump out of our bodies and leave us and then come back and forth. When there's disobedience, that's the outward action. But I can assure you, the children of Yahuah, the set-apart children of Yahuah, will grieve. The Spirit will grieve when there's disobedience. And that's when it says be filled, mean come into correction, walk in obedience. Speaking to each other in psalms and songs of praise, spiritual songs, singing and striking the strings in your heart to the Master. Giving thanks always for all to the Almighty One, the Father, in the name of our Master Yahushua Messiah, subjecting yourselves to each other in the fear of the Almighty One. See, it's not a quid pro quo. It's not I scratch your back, you scratch mine. Give me the same respect I give you, in the sense of like it's a purchase power, in the sense of if wickedness is there, you don't give place to wickedness. If you discern and you know unequivocally that it is wicked, don't give place to it just because wickedness gave place to you. Subjecting yourselves one towards another is discerning when the voice of the Spirit of Yahushua is working in us, one towards another, receiving exhortation from one another, building up one another, confirming what is true, what is set apart. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. Remember the multitude, examine all that was done. I want to give you an example of something that may not have been shared with you regarding when Yahushua fed the multitude. Remember, body parts, what we take in, both naturally and spiritually. Hear these words in John 6th chapter, verse 10-14. It says, and Yahushua said, make the people sit down. Now there was much grass in the place, and the men, numbering about 5,000, sat down. And Yahushua took the loaves, and having given thanks, he distributed them to the taught ones. And the taught ones to those sitting down, the same with the fish, as much as they wished. And when they were filled, he said to his taught ones, gather the broken pieces that are left over, so that none gets wasted. So they gathered them, and filled 12 baskets with broken pieces of the 5 barley loaves, which were left over by those who had eaten. Then the men, having seen the sign that Yahushua did, said, this is truly the prophet who is coming to the world. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. My brothers and sisters, one of the things we fail to realize is the power of Yahushua working in us, through us, taking care of natural needs and spiritual needs. My brothers and sisters, This passage I just read is about when Yahusha fed the multitude. But notice how he said, gather the broken pieces that are left over so that none gets wasted. You see, this just goes to show you when we're fed of Yahusha, by Yahusha, through his word, sometimes we may eat erratically or recklessly, dropping crumbs, missing out on bits and pieces, and we miss out. And we see at the word of Yahusha, they gathered the broken pieces and filled 12 baskets. I submit to you, my brothers and sisters, though Yashar'al, set apart Yashar'al, though the 12 tribes has been scattered, and the world have nibbled, perverted, and grabbed bits and pieces of our culture, our teachings, our way of life, the crumbs are gathered. The 12 tribes will be gathered. It will be as 12 baskets being filled. We will find ourselves full with the things that we need naturally as well as spiritually, being filled each day, O Yashar'al. Time will truly prove the need to recognize the nourishment for every body part. Have you ever heard, my brothers and sisters, have you ever heard how some people say eat carrots, it's good for your eyes, or tomatoes, it's good for the heart, or various edibles, clean edibles, fruits or vegetables that's good for you? I say that's what we need to recognize in these end times. What's good for us as a child of the Almighty Father? Let us begin to listen to what's being said, my brothers and sisters, what's being done, my brothers and sisters, and be mindful of what we take in. Prepare to witness discovering the results of what's placed inside. You see, what we take in will reflect outwardly at some point, in some way, shape, or form. Have we examined the things we're taking in? Are we sure that we're taking in what is right, what is righteous, what is set apart? We will discover the need for continuous growth. So though we recognize the body parts, though we recognize their functions, we must recognize what needs to be taken in to keep them flowing and functioning healthy, correctly, for building up a set-apart nation. We must prepare to see the promises of Abba Yahuah unfold moment by moment, not just yesterday, not just an hour ago. With each moment, have a prayerful mind, body, and spirit, seeking to do the will of the Almighty Father continuously. Let us put to work, to task, the things that we have taken in for the building up of a set-apart family. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, we will learn to manage the fear, for truly fear is growing among us. Fear. You see, my brothers and sisters, due to erroneous teachings, some people will say, I don't fear anything. I don't fear anything. They don't qualify by saying, I don't fear what man can do to me. My fear is the fear of Yahuah. We must understand there's a difference. So to erase fear altogether is wrong. To fear Yahuah is to pause, to give pause in prayer to Yahuah to hear what he's saying. That's the fear of Yahuah. Pause, listening, discerning, recognizing him, working inwardly and outwardly as a result of what he has deposited into us as we grow, as we mature. Let me read the following, O Yashar'al, for there are those who prefer to hear the scriptures and may not even pay attention that the scriptures bear witness to the words I just spoke. Consider these words, Proverbs 1:7. The fear of Yahuah is the beginning of knowledge. Fools despise wisdom and discipline. How can you receive knowledge if you don't pause, listen, discern? How can you receive the knowledge if you despise wisdom and discipline? Is not knowledge something that brings about wisdom and discipline? Proverbs 9:10, come with me there. It says, the fear of Yahuah is the beginning of wisdom, and the knowledge of the set apart one is understanding. There are those who will struggle getting understandings because of the wrong reasons and for the wrong intent. But know this, O Yashar'al, as uncertainty ramp up, as civil unrest ramp up, as wars and rumors of wars get intense, we will see those who fear Yahuah versus those who fear what man can do. Come with me to Matthew chapter 10, verse 28 through 33. Matthew chapter 10, verse 28 to 33, it reads, do not fear those who kill the body, but are unable to kill the being, but rather fear him who is able to destroy both being and body. It's talking about spirit and body. In Gehenna, are not 2 sparrows sold for a copper coin, and not one of them fall to the ground without your Father? And even the hairs on your head are all numbered. So do not fear. You are worth more than many sparrows. Everyone, therefore, who shall confess me, this is Yahusha being quoted, before men, him I shall also confess before my Father, who is in the heavens. But whoever shall deny me before men, him I shall also deny before my Father, who is in the heavens. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, careful of what we take in. Let us be mindful of what we take in. Let us be mindful of what these body parts contain. Come with me to John 17th chapter, verses 10 through 23. John chapter 17, verses 10 through 23. And all mine are yours, and yours are mine, and I have been esteemed in them. And I am no more in the world, but these are in the world. And I come to you, set apart, Father. Guard them in your name which you have given me. See, the name that the Father had given him was Yahusha. He says, so they might be one as we are. When I was with them in the world, I was guarding them in your name, which you have given me. And I watched over them, and not one of them perished except the son of destruction, that the scriptures might be fulfilled. And now I come to you, and I speak these words in the world so that they have my joy completed in them. I have given them your word, and the world hated them because they are not of the world, as I am not of the world. I do not pray that you should take them out of the world, but that you keep them from the wicked one. They are not of the world, as I am not of the world. Set them apart in your truth. Your word is truth. As you sent me into the world, I also sent them into the world. As for them, I set myself apart so that they too might be set apart in truth. And I do not pray for these alone, but also for those believing in me through their word, so that they all might be one, as you, Father, are in me, I in you, so that they too might be one in us, so that the world might believe that you have sent me. And the esteem which you gave me, I have given them, so that they might be one, as we are one. I in them, you in me, so that they might be perfected into one, so that the world knows that you have sent me and have loved them as you have loved me. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. This is what's known by many as Yahusha's prayer. Many believe the one that say, Abba Father, which are in heaven, or in Shamnin, that is more so Yahusha's prayer. But believe it or not, this was the prayer that he said in John. My brothers and sisters, timing is important. Knowing what to eat, what to take in, and when it is used. What to receive in terms of teachings. Things that sharpen us. Things that make our senses more in tune with what the Almighty Father desire is. Sometimes we become overjoyed and excited, and we jump out prematurely and get disappointed when others can't receive what Abba Yahuah has given us. And sometimes we are slowful, too slow. And there are many times that we respond to what the Almighty Father has given us to say, to do, and sometimes shot down by the undiscerning, the unlearned, the one who jealous or envious because they didn't get it first. Be encouraged, O Yashar'al. The body parts, each body part, what we take in is for the nourishing of every body part, from the least to the greatest. If you're in a camp, a community, a group, and they don't know you, they don't know what Yahusha has for you, they have not identified your task, your function, your specific body part, or at the very least, the track that you are on to function as a specific part in this set-apart body, in this set-apart nation. If you're with someone that don't even make an attempt, something is wrong. Something is wrong, O Yashar'al. For every body part will be recognized and acknowledged, from the least to the greatest. Timing will prove to be important in the coming days ahead. My brothers and sisters, knowing what to drink and eat and how much is important. That's naturally, physically. Believe it or not, that's spiritually. Do you not know the scriptures? When it speaks of his word, sometimes it uses water as an example. But I want to read this to you, my brothers and sisters. For sometimes there are things that we take in, and among us are the greedy when it comes to natural drink, natural foods. Even when it comes to scripture, a person can be greedy when they recklessly just read with no intent to discern what is being said. Consider these words in Proverbs 28:16, O Yashar'al. For it reads, a leader who lacks understanding is a great oppressor, but the hater of greed prolong his days. You see, my brothers and sisters, a leader who lacks understanding. If they lack understanding, they probably lack discerning. They probably fail to fear the Almighty Father, even though they might say they do. Come with me to Luke 12:15. It says, and he said to them, mind and beware of greed, because one's life does not consist in the excess of his possessions. We see a lot of greed. We will see a lot of greed as people try to hold on to things they must let go for this final exodus. Even in movement in these last days, I've done a series called The Closing Scroll. I encourage you strongly to listen to it, O Yashar'al, for the closing scroll is active, and soon and very soon it will become more clear that forced movement, forced migrations will come. We will learn to let go of the things we must let go of and take only what is asked of us. In some cases, it may not be a thing. In some cases, it may be water, food, and other sustainable supplies and resources as the Almighty Father provides. There will be those who won't know how to share. They will be greedy and eat up all the food and drink all the water. But that's why it's important to vet, examine, recognize the greedy, and let us be as iron sharpen iron and put the greed in check. Colossians 3:5-7 says, therefore put to death your members which are on the earth, whoring, uncleanness, passion, evil desire, greed of gain, which is idolatry. When these things drive our actions, my brothers and sisters, this is idolatry. And we must learn to care for these body parts, to nurture these body parts, to function as we are directed by the Almighty Father. It says, because of these, the wrath of the Almighty One is coming upon the sons of disobedience, in which you also once walked when you lived in them. When we allowed those things to rule us, the disciplined hand of the Almighty Father delivered us by the power and might of the blood of the Lamb. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al, prepare to witness improvement in focus and balance in these last days. You see, when it comes to gathering together, my brothers and sisters, when it comes to working in unity, we must be in shape. Naturally and spiritually, we must be in shape. The discipline of the Almighty Father comes with a purpose. Judgment starting at the house of Yahuah first comes with a purpose. Let our expectations move us in the directions in which we are to go. Soon and very soon, many will be surprised and shocked as great movement begin. There's so much work to be done, O Yashar'al. Are we taking in the instructions, directions? Are we yielding to the Almighty Father so that we can be focused and balanced? Balance and obedience. We will discover much to learn regarding the intake needed for body parts. Whatever position that you're in, it will either be confirmed by others, by the power and might of the Almighty Father, or correction will come and we will find ourselves repositioned in this set-apart body, in this set-apart nation. Repositioned where we're supposed to be, where we function at our most optimum level, naturally and spiritually. Yashar'al, O Yashar'al. I cannot stress enough. There's much work to be done. I cannot stress enough the need, my brothers and sisters, the need for us to recognize what it is that we must do in these coming days. Ask questions, seek answers. Let us learn to fellowship with those who are pursuing maturity in the set-apart life. Let us begin discovering what is important, my brothers and sisters, to take in and avoid things, my brothers and sisters, things that are not healthy, both naturally and spiritually. Yashar'al, Yashar'al. This may seem redundant, but I salute those who had the patience to listen to this to the very end. I salute your pursuit of set-apartness. I salute your love and zeal to do the will of the Almighty Father. Keep in mind, whatever we focusing on and taking in, our attention is off something else. And if our attention is off something else, maybe that's a good thing. But if we are distracted and taking in the things that are unhealthy, naturally and spiritually, then we will find ourselves missing out on the things that nurture us, that strengthen us, that allow these body parts to function with the power and might of set-apartness. There's a power that is coming that will be demonstrated through the obedient ones, a power that will shock and surprise many. But know this, O Yashar'al, the promises of the Almighty Father will be kept. They will be fulfilled. Body parts. Let us not take anyone pursuing the will of the Almighty Father for granted. Let us be mindful when He uses us to help them, to uplift them, to feed them, to give them drink. And let us be mindful of what He gives us, what we are to do with it. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, stay tuned. There is so much work, so many details. There is a process for the final exit. There's a process for strengthening the martyrs for Yahusha's name. There's a process for reaching out to those who were led astray that will be brought back into the fold. There's a process in educating those who are physically alive, witnessing those that are dying before us. Yashar'al, oh Yashar'al, take these body parts serious. Take your task serious. Identify what is expected and learn how to respond. On that note, oh Yashar'al, I salute you. I pray that you are in good health I pray that you are growing strong by the power and might of the Almighty Father Yahuah in Yahusha's name. My name is Symmanayah, and I end with saying to you, my brother, my sister, my family, be encouraged. Our redemption draws near. Shalum.